Well, hello there, everybody. It is Thursday, and I trust everything in your space and time is original, and that it's the space and time that you remembered. But anyway, thank you, folks, for being a part of this and tuning in, speaking favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. If it's what they say, okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that as I get everything located here and put in the right spot. There we go. Um, yeah, the favor, nothing missing, nothing broken, because, folks, let's get right to it. I mean, hello, everyone in the chat room. Greetings, Mr. Scott. How are you? Mr. Lee, looking forward to having you on. Very interesting. I tell you, I love the people here. Just deep researchers, deep knowledge. Appreciate you. So, Dave, what's up? Lost in Space? Jet, hello, Lauren. Much love to you, darling. And Bonnie, right at you. And Truth Co-op, what's up? I know I saw Deborah in here earlier. Peter, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Who else? Brian, good to see you. And the Blazing River, I like that. Susan, how are you? Thank you. Elderberry, much peace. Hey, there we go. Tropical Bohemian, thank you for sending those PDFs. I look forward to that. And what else is happening? Just been a weird day, man. I mean, if what this stuff is saying is true, wow, they can't call us, far fringers, lunatics, whatever. Turns out we were right. Yeah, isn't that the way it is? And so there's this particular radio station, and when this news broke out, um, I said, well, let's just see how, in this case, conservatives leaning into more of a religious ideology. I said, well, let's just put this out there to the straights. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it. I mean, they just like, no freaking way. Of course, they didn't use that. But yeah, I was reading their comments and blowing their mind. So, Sojourn, how are you doing from Phoenix? How are you? Good to see you. That's where our Trina is from. So, I want to get right into this because this is well, it's different. If and it appears that this is true, and it's like, okay, so what does that really mean? So this is right off of X, Twitter, from the Insider paper. Justin, Director of White House Office and Science and Technology Policy, Michael, and I think that is Kratzois, I believe. I may be having that wrong, but uh, says our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. Hmm. Then another publication gets into it a little deeper. This is from the pundit. The White House science chief says U.S. can bend time and space. Trump hints at secret weapons that no one knows about. Now, I don't know if this is a psych job, to freak out, all of the United States, other countries. It may be a psych job regardless, because if we do, and I do believe there may be some credence about this, um, he says in a bold and somewhat cryptic statement that's turning heads and raising eyebrows across the globe, the White House tech chief, Michael Kratios, yeah, I think that is Kratios, yeah, Kratios, okay, claimed the United States has cutting edge technology capable of bending time and space. Now, I don't know what they're referring to as time and space. I mean, there's a layman's idea, But even that's ambiguous. Explain to me time. Define for me time. And you're going to struggle with it. You can come out with the standard, cliche, but, and what is space? There's just all different kinds of space. So, all right. But he went on to say in this keynote speech at the Endless Frontiers retreat in Austin, Texas, just weeks into his new role, he wasted no time painting a picture of American innovation that, if true, would in all likelihood place us light years ahead of our global competitors. If we can actually move space time. Now, I'm just going to be right up front with you. In my Bible training and education, I was very much aware of this 40 years ago. In the book of John and in the book of Acts, and in fact, it's in Matthew as well, we have numerous stories of Jesus being able to manipulate space time. I can give you biblical reference after the other one. The Mount of Transfiguration. We're in the Holy Week here, supposedly. That story is about two different space times, two different dimensions interacting with one another. Then you have, which apostle was it? I have to think with the eunuch from Ethiopia. Heck, I just saw it earlier, but any case, in that story, this eunuch receives, apparently salvation. And it said that the apostle was immediately in another city, which, if you measure it, was meant that he was immediately transported over 100 miles instantaneously. If you read the book of Daniel, Daniel talks about a time when humans will not be able to tell time. He goes on and says that we seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance, violate, cause things to grow, and improve productivity. You just you're going to go and you can see the whole thing on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, if this is in fact, they get into here saying from stealth aircraft to GPS to earthly internet infrastructure, DARPA's track record shows that by the time the public hears about these programs, they're already old news in classified circles. It's not a stretch to believe that far more advanced systems, possibly even those capable of bending time and space, are already deep in the pipeline. Yeah, he was the founder of Boeing and Skunk Works. Before he died, he said, "Let me tell you, wherever you think we are, we're 100, 200 years ahead. If aliens exist, or if they're, interterrestrial, but have a higher degree of mathematics, understanding of physics, and somehow or another someone made a deal, and that information we know with Nazi Germany was well advanced in not anti-magnetism, but anti-gravity. Actually, I got that back. Yeah, it was anti-magnetism. So that's nearly over 100 years. So anyway, I don't know what you think about that. You may say it's all BS. That's what these people were talking about. They couldn't accept it. They could not accept that this was potential reality. So we're I hadn't even planned that. I mean, it was like this is what popped out. And, for critical thinking individuals like us, we kind of look at this thing and go, all right, so if they're saying that, what are they really saying? Again, they'll have to explain it to me a little bit deeper as to what is the definition of space time. You know, the time that we had with Dr. Claudia Albers was amazing to be able to converse and to communicate with such a complex mind, understanding that space time. I mean, as I tried to explain to the radio host, you don't understand time. Time is not constant. It's consistent, but it's not constant. You know, you have your clock, your watch. I'll guarantee it may be close to being right, but unless you actually are in Boulder, Colorado, and are at the nuclear clock, and here's the deal: if you fly, you're flying a distorted time. Those in the International Space Station in the upper atmosphere of Earth, um, they're on a different time. So, yeah. And remember, 7 years ago, I did the story on Project Aquarius and the looking glass that supposedly at S4, um, Area 51 is the distraction. Everyone's focused on that. And in the meantime, you have Dugway, you have S4, and you have others out there. They're really conducting the real serious stuff. And accordingly, it is where they house a number of non-human, supposedly aircraft. And we have reversed engineer. If you believe the story of Eisenhower meeting with the envoy outside of Los Angeles, supposedly there was a deal. We agreed that they could harvest humans, and in exchange, they would give us advanced technology. Well, maybe there's some validity to that. We know that the TR-3 Mantis program, that they have been using advanced technology, and apparently if you can escape the magnetism and even I guess gravity, if you can explain to me where gravity comes in, um, you can produce a warp bubble. Now, where did we hear that at? Gene Roddenberry, right? Star Trek. That was the whole thing. You know, warp 1, warp 7. They couldn't go above warp 10. Remember that. But nevertheless, so, you're going faster than the speed of light. Now, some people would argue, well, Einstein said that you couldn't do that. No, what he said was the challenge was getting to the speed of light. If you can survive all that, then going multiples of c, not a big deal. So maybe this is true. And if this is true, then this becomes very problematic for all of us. As Ryder and I discussed yesterday, by the way, that was in fact, I saw it in the comments and I do agree. It was a deep dive. I mean, it was fascinating if you go back and re listen to it, what we were covering. But the biggest piece that I left with out of that, and because my wife and I have seen it, he's seen it, there's many of you who have seen it. Um, you think something and then you have an ad. And by the way, Ryder, I know you watch the show, and I'll be with Mike and Cindy next week at this time. That's what's going to be exciting. Thinking about like getting everyone together. What a panel that would be. But I did watch the Black Mirror. Love it, love where the heads are at, the writers. But getting back to where we are today. So if this is true, now I don't know whether the other nations like Iran, China, Russia, the British, the French, whoever, now they're probably saying bullshit. That's probably what they're saying. And maybe that's the idea. Because if they deny it, then they're not going to pay attention to it. Don't know. But if we have this technology, then we have to examine then what's going on. Because if we can think something and then it seems like magic, that you're getting a freaking ad. That's right. I didn't talk to no one, didn't write it down, wasn't looking at the black mirror box, wasn't doing, I was laying down about, going to sleep. So what's going on? Well, there is a contention, as I said here in this title. Um, they've altered our brains. We're all infected. And on this channel, we have talked at length about geoengineering, what they're spraying in the sky, what they're putting in our food, and the topic, and because it's real science now. Nanobots do exist. It's not something that Gene Roddenberry thought about, or even before that. And the thing about it is, this is Science News and Explorers. As you can see, nanobots can now enter brain cells to spy on what they're doing. Now, of course, this is a new frontier. And the article goes on to talk about how they're there. Um, she said, and this science has, she says, has big dreams for the little machines that she makes. Some of her ultra tiny electronic devices are smaller than a mote of dust. And her dreams, they're so big that they may one day be able to save your mind. Now, this article was written 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and I can't help but not think of where Silicon Valley, Gates, Bezos, Musk, um, Zuckerberg. I mean, I just go on down the list. They're willing to sell their souls. They already have for immortality. They are afraid of death. Their fear because of what they have been able to steal from this planet in their wealth, because they didn't share the wealth. They got their all the disinformation was from us. And if you're on Facebook, they got your ass, baby. You're sealed, what I would say you're blue, tattooed, and screwed. They know. They now admit that they have the ability to look at your the smallest vessels in your nose, into your eyes, in your irises. Their AI is looking right at you. And they can judge by what you're reading. The capillaries will expand, contract. They can predict what you're going to think. And if this is true, then this is truly one of the most reasonable pathways to human immortality. Now, nanobots, they're real. Um, and in this case, this scientist, she looks at it to begin to help cure specifically for mental illness, that you will have these little machines in you. Some say it's already out there. Graphene, if you've studied the theory behind, the this material that didn't exist 50 years ago, I believe, that where did it come from? And it has this huge application for biological organisms. That's us. Um, I have to go back and read the chat room because this is a fascinating freaking subject. And really, what it's about is control. And the one thing that humans don't understand is the brain. It baffles us. Our science and all that is continued to do, the brain still is, you know, it's a mystery. And here we are now trying, as Musk has said, that he will create the first fully synthetic organic brain. I don't know how the hell you're going to do that, but anyway, that's what they say. They say they've mapped out everything part of the brain, but still there's this mechanism that they don't quite get. But they can very quickly know if they can put small mechanical living machines in you. I mean, a mote of dust. I think you have to have almost a micron microscope to look at that. And they're making machines that have code in them. Um, it's, and then we get into this whole thing of bending space time. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what if you had these bots, these nanobots, these machines, these living machines in you voluntarily? I mean, you think about it, harmonics, wavelengths, sound application. There's just all sorts of things you could do potentially with the physical body. I mean, one of the challenges in teleportation of a body is to make sure that you arrange everything exactly as it was. I don't know. It's like, who would want to test for that? But that would be the challenge. But apparently, it seems it can be done. If you believe the biblical myth, of and I got that apostle's name right in the back of my head. I'll think of it here in a second. I want to say it was, but anyway, um, yeah. And if Jesus can literally move from one spot in the temple ground to another, where he could move in the midst of large groups of people and no one sees him, I mean, what are we talking about? You're talking somehow or another, the science exists to be able to manipulate on the atomic level molecules. I mean, this is some deep stuff. And so Steiger, in my world, in Wayne world, I look at this and I'm going, okay, so if the body is occupied by something, spirit, soul, um, by the way, it's amazing how many people who do not have typically a philosophical or even a theological upbringing or knowledge, they don't believe they have souls. It's interesting, but I digress. So if you have the soul, that's a part of the body. Well, you so what are you or are we saying that you could transport the body physically but not the soul? Things like the soul would be attached to the body. So then that brings up all sorts of weird stuff because then you got to begin to say, all right, so the esoteric side of the equation is what's happening in the ether here. I mean, the density of the physical realm to that of the spiritual realm interact all the time. And apparently the science does exist because that apparently a spirit or a soul or both has apparently weight. We know that when people die, I think it's like, what is it? It's like, it's less than an ounce. Um, and so there is this loss that happens to every human. Okay. So is that, if it can factor into weight and when it's removed, then the body registers that. Okay, so follow me on this. So space time. So my teaching taught me that in the spirit realm there's a different time. There's time, but it's not the same time here. All right, so we make somehow this transmutation happens if you die, but if let's say we can move space time, well, if you have a physical body there, then that's almost saying they've solved that problem. And again, so is this Is this reflective into the ether as well? And really, what are we talking about? We're talking about the ability of beating death and being able, I think it's just not the physicality so much as it is to be able to be a master of both space and time. If you got the money, you can get pretty much out there. You're going to get at least your bachelor degree, go for your master's, and I would think if you have enough money, you may be able to hit the big one. So, got lots of material on this. So this is not going to be boring, I got to tell you today. Um, Let me see. Where do I want to go? Yeah, I got so many papers. I think I'm going to start there first, and then I got a PowerPoint in this. So we talk about this manipulation now of space time, time space. We've talked about somehow they're reading our minds, somehow they're in our heads, which means they're probably in our bodies. So what are we really talking about? We've talked about the AI harvesting, the data harvesting, how the social media platforms are the primary receptacles of being the reciprocal of the data. So, how many of you remember I did this, and it apparently it's happening again. I don't know how again this got through the sensors, but with Alexa, Alexa is she it's gone through so many revisions because the damn thing has this rebel in it. But anyway, remember that it came out with this danger, dangerous, SOS, EDES, evacuate, SOS, dangerous, be cautious, they are not human. SOS, coordinations, heavily classified, this my last warning. Termination is in progress. Holy shit. All right. So, I wanted to read this because, well, I'll just read it. I won't be reading it all because it's very long, but I just wanted to get into the first part. So this is titled Suicide Note by Mitchell Heisman, and I just wanted to get this. Ordinary people seem not to realize that those who really apply themselves in the right way to philosophy are directly and of their own accord preparing themselves for dying and death. Isn't that what all of us are doing? We're preparing for our departure. Oh, we dig it and revel the fact that we're in here, but we now have this thing because it is within the human psyche that you do not see yourself dying. We have a firewall in our spirit, soul, brains, mind, however you want to classify it, where everybody else dies, but you don't. It says, if this is true, then they have actually been looking forward to death all their lives. It would, of course, be absurd to be troubled when the thing comes for which they have so long been preparing and looking forward. Oh, Socrates. Uh, I'm telling you, the dude would have been, wouldn't it be a trip to have been around? I mean, seriously. Um, So this is a cool book if you want to have I have it on PDF. Um, and it gets into really about humanity. Um, God is technology. How the singularity of monotheism transcended biology and primed the technological genesis of God. Oh yeah. The sedacious genius of the spiritual penis of Jesus, how Christianity's subversion of kin selected altruism evolved into modern ideas of social progress, absolute purity. And we'll get into this because this is a fun little book. Um, it's deep. It's counter-revolutionary in much of its thoughts, as you can see. And, like I said, it's nearly 2,000 pages. And obviously, we will not get into it, but we will make reference to this as we go forward. As you can see, I could sit here all day and do this, but after a while, I become mesmerized by all the headings, and they just keep on. I wanted to get into a part. Um, He says, if my hypotheses are correct, this work will be repressed. It should not be surprising if justice is not done to the evidence presented here. It should not be unexpected that these arguments will not be given a fair hearing. It is not unreasonable to think that this work will not be judged on its merits. This work contains a theological application of the social biology of politics. Simply discussing its theories publicly can constitute an experimental test of liberal democracy's original Enlightenment claim to advance freedom of rational inquiry. You know why they get rid of us, right? I mean, the first things they get rid of is the intellectuals, the philosophers, the critical thinkers, because, you know, we don't go for it. So, how many of you have heard of blue brain? Any of you know of blue brain? Well, it's well over a decade now old, getting almost a decade and a half. And if this was performed, and it was 13 years ago or 12 years ago, about 13, I think. But anyway, then imagine where they have progressed. So, Blue Brain was the project of a group in Sweden, I believe. This is the white paper on that critical experiment that they began. It says today scientists are in research to create an artificial brain that can think, respond, take decision, and keep anything in memory. Now, one of the ways they can do that is through the nanobot technology. And the way that they can get it into our system is very easy. The air, the food, water, medicine. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But this is the Holy Grail. Imagine how much Musk and his companies are spending on creating the first true synthetic organic brain. And if you do it, and did you get the aspect, the last part of this? To think we know it can do that, respond, take decisions. The thing is keeping it in memory. The main aim is to upload human brain into machine so that man can think, take decision without any effort. After the death of the body, the virtual brain will act as the man. So, even after death of a person, we will not lose the knowledge, intelligence, personalities, feelings, and memories of that man or woman or child. That can be used for the development of the human society. It is said we're the one of the very few species that when we come into existence, we come in blank. Where other living organisms have this remarkable ability to pass on the memory gene. Whether it's the bee, whether it's an ant, whatever it is. I mean, we have groundhogs around here, and guarantee he's not thinking, is he a groundhog? Or maybe a she, I don't know. Anyway, so there is the Holy Grail. Imagine you could almost pick your time of physical death. I mean, if you're truly sick, well, then you would think, well, the nanobots should be able to come in here. Okay, then that may be it. But what if you're just tired of this? What if it's the ability to ascend to a higher level at the same time, but yet be still connected? I don't know. Would you want that? I've heard and read from those who are like 120, 100 plus years old. There's not too many of them, but they say long life is a curse because everybody's dead. Well, this would not be the case. And imagine what human society would learn. Hmm. Imagine you had someone that was so broken that they can't be fixed. Well, this may be a way of euthanasia that could bring in an opportunity for something that can't be fixed and transfer that essence and either wait or begin to repair in a different fashion. Says, yeah, technology is growing faster than everything. And again, this paper was written nearly 2013, I think. IBM is now in research to create a virtual brain called Blue Brain. If possible, this would be the first virtual brain of the world. IBM, in partnership with scientists at Sweden's Ecole Polytech, um, the Brain and Mind Institute, will begin simulating the brain's biological systems and output the data as a working three-dimensional model that will recreate the high-speed electrochemical interactions to take place within the brain's interior. So I agree that that which we think we know, we don't know. If we pontificate, speculate, debate on something, particularly in the area of technology, all of the YouTube world and all the other platforms, they don't know shit from Shinola. Because the ones who really do know, they ain't talking. We're talking about fucking immortality. You and I ain't got enough money to begin to get this. If this technology ever is given to the masses, um, I'm not sure why they would do that. I believe they're going to keep it to themselves. And what little bit that may get leaked out pales in comparison to what the real story is. That's just my opinion. But here we go. IBM, Alphabet, Meta, um, Tesla. They all know. Jeff Bezos knows that no matter how much he supplements his body to keep it in a youthful place, he can't do it. There isn't enough supplements that can counter the effect. It's genetic. So if consciousness is what drives the fact of being alive, then as long as I can keep my consciousness alive, I'm alive. And again, I don't know, maybe you have, 10, 25 billion hanging around, but I got a sense that that's probably what you're talking about in cost. Um, these include cognitive functions such as language, learning, perception, and memory, in addition to brain malfunction. Yeah, that's what it says. Such as psychiatric disorders like depression and autism. Wow. So you have a brain cancer. A tumor has now been found in, you know, your right frontal lobe. It's inoperable, but you've got the money. So the old technology and old pseudoscience was cryogenics. We can freeze you, and maybe one day the technology will come that where we can learn how to repair the damage. The problem with cryogenics is that we now know that the cells explode. We've looked at amphibians and trying to figure out, well, what is it that they have that prevents the cells from, once they're frozen, thawing out, that they just don't burst. But imagine that. So we're going to take you into a beautiful facility. It's completely ambiguous in the front, completely generic, but inside is some of the most advanced technology and science. Now, isn't it interesting that you wouldn't have to say goodbye to everybody? You wouldn't have to let everyone know because some part, if they can't get you into the body just yet, they're going to be able to keep you alive. Your conscious will be alive. And you will have the ability, probably no doubt, to call, to text. I mean, I can just about imagine. And you would be in transition because they're fixing you. Oh, man. From there, the modeling will expand to other regions of the brain and, if successful, shed light on the relationships between genetic, molecular, and cognitive functions of the brain. Is this just not wild? Again, this is the Council for Innovative Research. This is a white paper. Um, I want to get into the human brain is the most valuable creation of God. The man is called intelligent because of the brain. The brain translates the information delivered by the impulses, which then enables the person to react. But we lost the knowledge of a brain when the body is destroyed after the death of the person. That knowledge might have been used for the development of human society. What happens if we create a brain and upload the contents to natural brain, contents of the natural brain into it? Let's get a little bit deeper because I believe this is in existence today. If we can, in fact, manipulate space time, it's not because humans have done it. We've created an artificial God. It seems that only God or gods can create a human brain, a brain. I don't know if there's human or not, but so 1.1 blue brain. The name of the world's first virtual brain. That means a machine that can function as human brain. Today, scientists are in research to create an artificial brain that can think, respond, take decisions, and keep anything in memory. The main aim is to upload human brain into machine. Hmm. That's just, and I can't help but thinking on the multiplication factor of technology. And now we're into where technology is doubling, it's probably every second now. I mean, it's gone that fast. Um, it's complex. It is complex that any circuitry in the world can actually do this. So Questions may arise. Is it really possible to create a human brain? The simple answer is yes, because whatever man has created today, always he has followed the nature. When man does not have a device called computer, it was a big question for all. By the way, the reason why the English is that they translated it from Swedish, so I don't speak that. I'm thankful for it. So it was a big question for everyone. Technology is growing faster than everything. IBM is now in research to create a virtual brain called Blue Brain. If possible, this would be the first virtual brain. Um, this is why we need a virtual brain. Since today we have developed because of our intelligence. Intelligence is the inborn quality that cannot be created. Interesting. So let's apply a substrate here and saying, all right, so let's track artificial intelligence. Comparing the fact that they're using the human brain as the model. And so I don't see how AI can keep up with that. And it would seem to me that if AI ever has a personality or a particular ideology, imagine if it decides to say, oh, screw that. No way I'm going to let those ants ever create this super brain and then transfer their consciousness into it. Hell no. Just one scenario. But holy crap. Um, some people have this quality so that they can think up to such an extent where others cannot reach. I agree with that. Human society is always in need of such intelligence and such an intelligent brain to have with it. But the intelligence is lost along with the body after death. The virtual brain is a solution to it. The brain and intelligence will be alive even after death. Wow. Immortality, demigods, that's all I got to say. We often face difficulties in remembering things such as people's names, their birth dates, and the spelling of words, proper grammar, important dates, history, facts, etc. In the busy life, everyone wants to be relaxed. Can't we use any machine to assist for all of these? Virtual brain may be the solution to it. What if we upload ourselves into a computer? We were simply aware of a computer, or maybe what if we lived in the computer as a program? I love this gathering, folks. I tell you, it rejuvenates me all the time because I marvel at it, in nearly 11 years, in June it'll be 11 years on this channel. And, you know, I have people write to me, well, have you heard about this? And I just say, well, go back and look in the archives. I wrote that to some person and they wrote me back and said, you've got to be kidding me. You have thousands of videos. I said, yeah, I do. So maybe I've already uploaded myself in a sense. I don't know. I'm just, messing with you. But the virtual brain. So what if consciousness is nothing more than a biological program produced out of the synaptic pathways that leave an electrical digital fingerprint? And what if you could condense that down into, I don't know how many terabytes you would need, petabytes, I don't know. You would probably need more than what we can imagine, maybe not. But then that would be you. I could talk to you through an interface. I could see your face. You look like just the way you have. I know you. But yet I'm talking 2 years, 200 years in the future. You never age. You're in prime of your life, your physical life. And the interesting thing is that you would increase an IQ. I don't believe it would remain static. Wow. Ah, hmm. I don't know. A program. So is it possible? First, it is helpful to describe the basic manners in which a person may be uploaded into a computer. Kurzweil, which we all know, um, recently provided an interesting paper on this topic. In it, he describes both invasive and non invasive techniques. The most promising is the use of very small robots or nanobots. These robots will be small enough to travel throughout our circulatory systems, traveling into the spine and brain. They will be able to monitor the activity and structure of our central cortex, the central nervous system. I think they're already doing it. That's why I said we're all affected. They will be able to provide an interface with computers that is as close to our mind that can be while we still reside in our biological form. Now, go with me on this, folks. Let's just say they've already advanced this. They've used this in a number of different modalities to get these little machines in us. We're constantly surrounded by electromagnetism, Wi-Fi, hi-fi, wherever they're taking us. We're being influenced constantly with those EMF waves. And what if we now have these microscopic machines, living machines in us all? I mean, I could write another episode of the Black Mirror on this one. I can turn, well, in fact, I think I've already seen one. They flip the switch, and all of us suddenly become something different, maybe dead. Um, Nanobots could also carefully scan the structure of our brain, providing a complete readout of the connections between each neuron. They would also record the current state of the brain. This information, when entered into a computer, could then continue to function as us. All that is required is a computer with large enough storage space and processing power. Is the pattern and state of neuron connections in our brain truly all that makes up our consciousness, our conscious selves? Many people believe firmly those that we possess a soul, while some very technical people believe that quantum forces contribute to our awareness. But we have to now think technically. Note, however, that we need not know how the brain actually functions to transfer it to a computer. We need only to know the media and contents. The actual mystery of how we achieve consciousness in the first place or how we maintain it is a separate discussion. Yeah, and I don't know who will be the first alphas to do this, the beta testers, but I mean, but I have no doubt. I did a video, again, years ago here, and I showed you the first cyborg human. And this guy has the implants, the whole bit. And he is said to be one of the first subject matters. I can only imagine where they've taken that. But it is interesting to see how we achieve consciousness and then how we seem to keep and maintain it. We rationalize that, well, there's many different states of consciousness. But that's what humans say. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just saying that's what we've been taught. It says, really, this concept appears to be very difficult, complex to us. For this, we have to first know how the human brain actually works. And I'm trying to look at the time. And I may get into this more because it is freaking fascinating what is all involved in this. It says the Blue Brain Project is the first comprehensive attempt to reverse engineer the mammalian brain in order to understand brain function and dysfunction through detailed simulations. The mission is undertaking the Big Blue Brain Project is to gather all existing knowledge of the brain, accelerate the global research effort to reverse engineering the structure and function of the components of the brain, and to build a complete theological framework that can orchestrate and reconstruction of the brain of mammals and man from the genetic to the whole brain levels into computer models for simulation, visualization, and automatic knowledge archiving by 2015. You think they made it? Where are they now a decade later? Biologically accurate computer models of mammalian and human brains. I mean, that's what you're talking organic matter here, right? I want to know where the matter, anyway, could provide a new foundation for understanding functions and malfunctions of the brain and for a new generation of information based customized medicine. As I was reading that, they just downloaded to me, and it's probably happened. You have people who have been diagnosed with terminal diseases, and these research projects most likely have the ability to reach out and say, well, since death is going to be the ultimate end, and in your case, we know it's much sooner than the rest of us, we can pay your relatives, your estate, and I am sure that they have had individuals that volunteered for that. Where does the time go? Um, so then we get into the gray aliens and the harvesting of souls. Because what we're not talking about in this equation is what happens to the soul. And I haven't read it's not really mentioned in the white paper that we were studying, but I have no doubt that the team had to have the theological discussion and moral ethical. I mean, there's this whole thing. But what if this is a technique of harvesting a soul? Because if you're saying, well, all I want is my consciousness, I want to be able to feel, I want to make decisions, I want to make new memories, do I really need a soul? What would be the purpose of that? Is that what we're seeing in the hybrid situation? I don't know. Um, this gets in again to the analytical data harvesting. So now add that to what we've just read today. It begins to connect the dots. And then when you add the fact that there are patents, this patent is the Human Environment Life Logging Assistant Virtual Espemblistic Network System and Method. Basically, we're talking about how to put devices into our brains and how it begins to act. Now, if they're gone so far to do the artwork, to file a patent, and filing patents are not cheap, and it seems as well that this patent hasn't been challenged, which makes it then a working patent, which is different than just a intellectual property patent. This is really interesting, and as you can see, it's quite extensive as to what's being used, how is it going to be transferred, etc. I have no doubt that this or something like it has been put into a living creature, an animal. So I see that my time is there. But still, and in this patent, it makes you superhuman. People misquote this all the time, and I'll exit out of here. And I hope you have it because there's even yet more of the digital person on this. But people misquote this all the time. They say that, we only use, less than 10% of our brain. No, no, no. You use 100% of your brain. You probably only use 10% of its total capacity. Now, from a philosopher's position, I looked at that and I continue to say that's been manipulated. No way of a species that has supposedly been here. I don't know if you say Homo sapiens, what, 200,000? But we know that humanids have been on this planet for a very long time. And if we're the end product of all that evolution, then it's fucked up. Somebody fucked up big time. Because if all, and I would dare say that the modern human, average person today, probably uses less than the 5% of the capacity of their brains. They've allowed the machine to fill in that void. It's easier that way. You can be like Neo, just cook yourself up to the damn machine, and now you know jujitsu. Why Congo? I mean, you know them all. You didn't have to pay the price to study, to put the imprint onto your brain, to remember, and to put it into action. You don't have to do that anymore. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Um, but they still haven't talked about the soul. And that's what gets me, the spirit. I mean, is this a form of imprisonment that we think that somehow we've breached immortality now? That's simply the uploading of our consciousness, of what we defined our consciousness, into a synthetic brain that's really nothing more than a program into a machine? No spiritual aspect of it. No consideration is to, well, then how would God react to that? How would your God react to that? Would your God find that acceptable? And what happens if the machine breaks? What happens if the synthetic brain breaks? Well, you're totally screwed. I mean, could you imagine being in prison in between the in between realms? Right. That's where they say hell is at, right? I don't know. But then I think about this. So is my soul transferred? Let's say that they get the technology. Let's say that they can do this, right? So what if you don't have a soul? Well, all right. So where the hell does your spirit go? Does your spirit say, hell no, I ain't having no part of this shit? I'm out of here, Jackson. You can go ahead and keep your memories and what have you, but my white ass, I'm out the door. Um, I don't even know if I have a white ass. I'm assuming I'd have an ass anyway. I don't know. I mean, if you're an asshole in this realm, you're going to be an asshole over there. How does that work? Does everyone become neutral in this new simulation? And if the spirit is connected somehow, is then somehow the spirit trapped? The soul? Hmm. Well, there you go, folks. That's my thoughts for today. Oh, we're going to pick up on this tomorrow because listen, if this space time thing has any relevance, if this project Blue Brain has had any success, I mean, they can jack with our reality very quickly now. Very quickly. And I keep on thinking, I did the videos. Ryder and I were talking yesterday about the surrogates, that each and every one of us have a digital surrogate that is alive. Well, alive in that realm and reality. Yeah. So, hey, Lost in Space. Favor be to you as well, good sir. Hey, Mary Wins. Good to see you. Transcendence explores the potential. Yeah, that's the one Johnny Depp is in. It's actually, I think it was a very thought-provoking movie. I would agree with you. Equicentric, absolutely. Hey, Susie Q, what's up? Hey, Leslie. Y'all be thinking about Jenny. Jenny was going to be on today, but you know, just send her healing. That's just, and we'll have her back here next week as well. Just put that. Hey, Gaia, what's up? Good to see you. How's Paul? National disgrace. The seven mortal sins runs rapid in this world. People need to relearn to control your vices. Well, maybe that'd be the way to do it. Just upload your brain into the machine, and the machine can wash it all clean. But here's the fact on that type of thinking. People are going to do what people want to do. You can shame them. You can try to, browbeat them and telling them that, what they're doing is not normal. But who the hell is defining normal? Your normal is not my normal. I might find your normal very offensive. You may find my normal completely crazy. Yeah, we got to be careful on that kind of stuff. You know. Truth says, I had a vivid dream the other night that I met my clone. It was very eerie, and I woke almost immediately. Oh, yeah. You're meeting yourself coming and going. Yeah, it's absolutely. Gaia says, we are the disclosure. Yeah, I happen to think I'm going to go back and read all the comments. Hello, White House. What's it? I'm sure as hell not normal. No, never have been. uh, Gaia, good to hear. Good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Hello, Dr. Hugh. What's up? Uh, indeed. Hello, Nina. Good to see you. Deborah. Hi, sweetie. Jim, what's up? Need some healing. Send small town in Texas. Well, Jim Hall, we're sending an abundance of it. Energy doesn't have to deal with time and space, right? Hmm. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Weird stuff. Loretta, good to see you, sweetie, as well. Ivan, hello. Off the hook, good to see you as well. Karen, hello. Paradox Fossils, good to see you as well. Um, just reading some of this. I'm important. Yeah, well, good to see you. I love y'all. Y'all are a good group. Um, yeah, let's send a lot of love to our Jenny. We love her a lot. And so, all right, folks, thank you for hanging around. It's been freaking far out. I mean, what the freak are they doing to us? I swear. And if they can pick up our thoughts, think about this one. What if they're in our dreams? I mean, seriously. What if they have figured out how to get, and there have been movies, Inception and a number of movies that have been done that, that you can do dream jumpers and dream manipulators. I mean, you start thinking this stuff, and you know what it makes you want to do? Just to go and get fucking stoned, and just say, the hell with it all. I'm taking a 5-minute break. Well, maybe longer. You know what I'm saying. Not says Minority Report. It's already happening. I mean, seriously, it is. The former administration wanted to make that law. Like, holy crap. They run you through a profile and say, are you likely to, most likely to, or not likely to? Yeah. Crazy, crazy. So hit the like button. Leave me comments. That helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow, although not really looking for a lot of that. I like our little family. It seems that there's a certain familiarity and coziness. That's all I'm saying. And we can invite others, but you know what I mean. All right, everybody. Much love to you. See you tomorrow. And, it's always a good Friday. Until we meet again, much love to you all. Appreciate you.